When Shane O'Farrell was killed, it was headlines. He had become another statistic, another fatality on an Irish road. For those who did not know Shane, who were watching on, it was another tragic traffic accident. In the immediate aftermath, as the rest of us went on with our own lives, the lives of Shane's family went into turmoil. They had lost their beloved son, their beloved brother, the light of their world. They were consumed by grief, overwhelmed, I think it would be fair to say, and they grieved in the expectation that the state would secure justice for Shane. It was only when the matter came before the courts that they began to realise that something was drastically wrong. Cahirlock, the man who was driving the car that killed Shane, was Zigimantas Gridziuska. Upon his conviction after Shane's death, the judge offered Mr Gridziuska a choice: serve a prison sentence or return home to your family in Lithuania. That was the moment when the name of Shane O'Farrell became that not only of a tragic statistic, but of a campaign, because it emerged that the Zigimantas Gridziuska should have been in jail on the day that he killed Shane. Less than 1 hour before Shane was killed, the car in which Mr Gridziuska was travelling was stopped by the Gardaí. It had been driven by another known criminal. The car was untaxed and had no NCT, but was not seized despite Gardaí being entitled to do so. The passengers, all well known to Gardaí as drug dealers, were searched, but the vehicle itself inexplicably wasn't. The driver was clearly not insured to drive the car. But rather than arrest him, as they were empowered to do, Gardaí instead instructed Zigimantas Gridziuska to take the steering wheel. It subsequently emerged that he was not insured to drive the vehicle either. An hour later, Shane O'Farrell was dead. It could have been prevented at that previous stop. If that was the only failure, perhaps it could be attributed to bad luck. But then more and more details began to emerge about who Zigimantas Gridziuska was and his seemingly amazing ability to avoid consequences for breaking laws in Ireland. When he first arrived in Ireland, he already had 12 convictions from Lithuania. In August 2009, he was granted bail in respect of a theft charge. He would proceed to commit 30 offences while on that bail. On the 9th of June 2010, he was convicted of drug offences. He was even given a custodial sentence, but he was released on bail again pending an appeal. But that appeal was never heard because the papers were misfiled by the court service. You couldn't make this stuff up. On the 11th of January 2011, Mr Gridziuska appeared in court again and pleaded guilty to multiple charges of theft and possession of stolen property. Sentencing was adjourned, but crucially, the judge instructed Gardaí that if he were to be arrested for any further offences, he was to be returned to that court and that he would imprison him. The following month, the 16th of February 2011, he received a 6-month prison sentence, but was again released pending appeal. A week later, the 23rd of February, Gridziuska was convicted again and he walked free again in courts. On the 9th of May in Ardee, on the 11th of May in Dundalk, on the 8th of June in Carrickmacross and on the 25th of July in Monaghan, Zigimantas Gridziuska was convicted of various crimes, and in each and every instance he walked free. On no occasion were the judges informed of the fact that this was a man who was in breach of multiple bail conditions from multiple courts, and on no occasion was he returned to the Monaghan judge that had instructed that he would be imprisoned if he were to commit a single other crime. One of the many bail conditions that applied to Mr Gridziuska was that he sign on daily at his local Garda station. But it transpired that during this time he was, for a short period actually imprisoned in the north. And despite the PSNI informing Gardaí of this fact, no warrant was sought to return him to Monaghan Circuit Court as per that order of the 11th of January 2011. Any one of these failings, if they had been set right, would have ensured that Shane O'Farrell would be alive today. Regardless of the instance, regardless of the crime, the man who killed Shane O'Farrell simply could not be jailed. It was as if he was the luckiest criminal ever to walk the earth. On one occasion, when he was convicted, it was thrown out on appeal because Gardaí had mislabelled evidence. On another, he was given community service and never bothered to show up. No consequences. It is either a catalogue of mismanagement and incompetence, or it is something far more sinister. And either way, the O'Farrell family deserve the truth, and the Irish public deserve answers. Because if this was a catalogue of errors, it points to an utterly broken criminal justice system. And the alternative, though, is much more worrying. Many people, myself included, believe that Zigimantas Gridziuska was an informer and that he was permitted to wreak havoc because Gardaí prioritised the protection of their source over the safety of citizens that they pledged to protect. Since his death, Shane's family have strove for the truth, and they have been failed just as their son and brother was failed. The catalogue of errors and failures were identified and made known to the Irish people, not by the Garda investigation, not by a court service review, not by a GSOC investigation, not by the scoping exercise. Each of these simply served to delay the process, but by the tenacity of a determined mother. I want to welcome Lucia O'Farrell and her husband Jim to the Dáil this evening, and I welcome their family and friends. This isn't their first visit here. They were here indeed in 2018 when a motion demanding an independent public inquiry into the circumstances of this case was first moved by Fianna Fáil and adopted by this House. Cahirlock, it is disgraceful that that motion has not been implemented. Justice Ministers since, Charlie Flanagan, Heather Humphreys, Simon Harris and Helen McEntee, have ignored the democratic call from both houses of the Oireachtas, and instead they found another mechanism to delay. The scoping exercise established by Fine Gael was not what was required and not what these houses mandated. The scoping exercise was not independent. Its final report is incompleted and in some instances it's inaccurate. Crucially, it failed to answer the fundamental question that this case presents. How the hell can someone break so many laws, breach so many bail conditions, be brought before so many courts and walk free every single time before killing a young, innocent man and then being permitted to return to their home country? It is clear that the only way that question will be answered is through an independent public inquiry. This motion must be adopted, and I urge TDs of every hue to vote in favour. But more importantly, I call on the Minister in her opening statement to be unequivocal in committing that on this occasion the motion will be enacted. The O'Farrell family are not going anywhere. Either you, Minister, do this or one of your successors will. So do the right thing, please. Don't force this family back to the Dáil again to get the answers that the Irish people deserve.